This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Bean Jean. Bean Jean. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Live from Beach Time Out in the heart of Times Square. You're listening to Beach Talk Radio with Kim and Ed Ryan.
And a good evening, everybody, and welcome to Beach Talk Radio for Friday night. My name is Ed Ryan. This is my wife, Kim Ryan, and her hair looks lovely tonight as always. And look what we have, everybody. Hot off the presses. Our new shirts have arrived. The first batch is here. The second batch is on order that probably be ready this weekend. So if you placed your order and you paid your bill, you're going to be able to get a shirt really soon, whether we mail it to you or we give it to you down on the beach. Just a couple of quick announcements before we get our friend Sam back on the show. The first announcement, of course, I posted to Facebook about an hour ago, and that is that starting Monday and Tuesday of this week, only essential vehicles will be allowed on Fort Myers Beach. That means the debris trucks, the FPL trucks, the water and sewer folks, all the folks that are trying to get the beach back up and running, especially the debris, because the debris is the biggest issue. And if you tuned in last night, you heard that Mark McQueen from Panama City said it took like 18 months for them to clear the debris from his city. So they're going to take Monday and Tuesday, and the residents will not be allowed on. Now, if you're already on the island, you will be allowed to stay on the island, but you cannot go to the bridge and get over the bridge. So keep that in mind. What they're trying to do is get as much of the debris off as they can and work on the infrastructure to get that back up and running. I kind of think that's a good idea. I mean, they do need to, if it's going to take that long, they need some time where they can just kind of shuffle in and shuttle in those trucks. So got to be patient. Got to be patient, everybody. So we'll talk more about that later. The second announcement is, let's see, tomorrow's show will be live from Times Square. We are going to be in Times Square. We have a representative from Homeland Security on tomorrow. And also Alex King, who I just saw him post right there. He's going to stop by tomorrow. He's got a big announcement to make tomorrow in Times Square. And we're also going to have Dan Allers on. So tune in tomorrow at our regular time, Saturday at 9 o'clock. And the third announcement I have to make is about the shirts. 500 shirts. 500 are on the way because somebody is going to buy them for us and for you. So 500 shirts later on in the show, because I forgot to print it out. I'm going to tell you exactly who it is. And that means that we will not have to pay out of the funds for the employees on the beach. We will not have to pay for those shirts. Somebody is picking up the tab for the 500. So the $30 for each of those shirts is going to go right back to the fund. And the only way that you can order a shirt is if you email Marie. You got to turn your own microphone on, dear. Sooner or later, you're going to learn.
Yeah, you changed.
What do you mean, what number? You're on number 4.
Okay.
You're on number 4.
Mr. Mathematician.
Mm-hmm.
Marie is, I think,
overwhelmed.
Well, I think it would have been better to set up a separate email account.
Because it's mixing in with all her stuff. Hey, you never know when things are going to fly. Oh, here we go with that. We had a big fight before the show because she wants to be involved in ordering the shirts, and then you know what? The shirts would be here for Christmas if we had the back and forth. So I just order it and then deal with it afterward. But we're gonna have tons of shirts, and I'm gonna pop Marie's email address. That's the only way you can order it is by emailing Marie. And we'll get her email address up there so you can bombard her again tonight. Let's get Sam on the show. Everybody's got tons of questions from Sam's there. He is. Sam is a representative from FEMA, and we've heard that word thrown around a lot in the last few weeks. And first things first, Sam, thanks for coming on. We always appreciate you taking the time to spend with the local community. And what is your kind of analysis and observation?
Well, can he just give his actual title, since I think representative isn't really specific? So go ahead, Sam. Tell us exactly what your title is.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me on again. I'm Sam Harvey. I'm deployed down here with FEMA. as the individual assistance group supervisor. So I have responsibilities for most of Southwest Florida, trying to be the representative about individual assistance.
Great. Now, what's your observation from when you first got here, the first day or two to now?
Well, when I first drove into Lee County on my first day down, there was still a lot of power out. A lot of the major intersections, even as far to the east as I-75, traffic lights were out. It was very dicey driving around the county, as I'm sure all of you have encountered. But what we've certainly seen over the last week and a half, a lot of improvement to the infrastructure. Which is always one of the first big steps. Before we can really get into the hardcore recovery, we've got to get through the response phase, and that's getting the infrastructure back up. Search and rescue is always a priority. Lee County Emergency Management, all the residents in Lee County and down there on the beach, Fort Myers Beach Fire Department have done a great job in just getting through the response phase so that we can start to jump in with both feet into the recovery phase of this event.
Now, you said you're
good.
Okay. You said you were for individual assistance. Does that mean for individuals versus municipalities, or how does that work?
Yeah, as you can imagine, there's a lot of lingo that gets thrown around. But for FEMA, there are a couple of main buckets. One is individual assistance, which is my realm, and that's focusing primarily on households that were impacted. So whether you're an owner, you're a renter, family, individual, that's really the population on which my side of FEMA focuses. Now, that's in contrast to public assistance, which deals a lot more with supporting the municipalities, rebuilding two roads and bridges, and funding a lot of those large projects. They're going to have to, come together in the next week, but also over the next couple of years.
Well, that's good, because I think our audience is really interested in what FEMA has to do for them and what FEMA has to do to help them. So can you first start off by explaining the 50% rule?
Yeah, I can get into this a little bit. I can tell you that the folks that ultimately decide 50% rule are the municipality. It's a municipality decision, a county decision, a city decision. But essentially, when looking at rebuilding your property, they look at what is the value of the property, how much are the repairs estimated to cost. Now, if the repair costs are going to be more than 50% of the value of that home, there are additional steps that need to go into to getting a permit in order to rebuild. And it usually has to do with making sure that you're outside of whether it's elevated out of a floodplain or, up to the current building codes. If you are less than 50% of, the estimates to the repairs are less than 50% of the value, then the permitting process is a little bit easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you say 50%, just so people that don't really study up on this, you mean 50% of the value of the home before the storm, right? If it was worth $1 million, $500 is a threshold. If you have to put more than $500,000 into the house, then you have to build. The end result is you probably have to build higher. Is that, just to break it down to those basics?
Very generally, that's correct.
Okay. So
I was just going to ask. So can you tell people, I think sometimes people are confused. Should they apply for FEMA? Should they not? So is it just people who had total disaster? Is it renters who lost some of their property?
Hold on. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but people are trying to follow up to my question because I probably screwed it up. So it's the value of the structure, not the property.
Yeah, it's the structure. It's the pre-storm assessed value. Again, there are some more considerations on the municipal level, but essentially, the last time the property was assessed by the town, they'll use some semblance of that value to determine the value of the home.
So they determine whether they determine that the property might be worth $1 million, but your house is only worth 90,000. Then there's that's the difference. It's not really what the whole property and the structure together. How do they determine that?
Yeah, so you're right. It's not the entire property. It's not fair market value of what you can be expected to get if you were going to sell your home. So these are assessments that were done by either by the county or the municipality prior to the storm. Essentially, what they would use to determine your tax rate. It's those types of assessments.
Okay, and then this last question on that topic from Monica is the appraised or assessed value?
I believe it's the assessed value. Again, I would encourage you to double check with the municipality on this because this is not really within FEMA's realm. This is more of a municipal decision.
Well, thanks for explaining the 50% rule to me anyway. I'm sure everybody else knows what it is, but it goes completely over my head. I didn't mean to interrupt, but back to you. Back to you.
Who should apply? Renters, owners, people with a little bit of damage, people with a lot of damage. What are the rules? What are the stipulations?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would strongly encourage anybody that was impacted by this event. So if you had a lot of damage, if you had a little damage, if you're not sure about your level of damage, I would encourage you to apply. It's free to apply. If you come back later and you find out, look, I'm okay, insurance covers everything, or I didn't have much damage, then you can withdraw, no penalty, no harm, no foul. So if you're not sure, I would go ahead and apply.
So for folks that might have insurance, but the deductible is, 2% of the value of your home, and that can be a chunk. Should they apply as well?
Again, yes, if they had damage, and unless you feel 100% confident that insurance is going to take care of everything, and they're going to, and that's why if in doubt,
you're going to bill for that. You're going to bill for that, Sam.
Go ahead. We're
just goofy.
No,
it's not. It is a serious subject, but I think everybody expects there to be a gap, the significance of which is yet to be determined.
Yeah. So like I said, if there's any question as to whether or not you're going to be covered, if you're not sure at all and you sustained any sort of damage, I would encourage you to apply for FEMA. And if it turns out insurance covers it, then again, you can withdraw, or and it's no harm, no foul. Or if you find out that your insurance is not going to cover all of your losses, then we can go back to the FEMA side and look at housing assistance for that gap.
Can you explain what IRS 2194 is?
I cannot.
Okay. I was going back and forth with some friends, and they talk to their accountant, and they believe that you have a chance to write off your taxes, some of the damage, or no. I want everybody to know the possibility to get some money back. Is there anything
So this is a question that comes up frequently, and what it's looking at is whether there's some sort of an abatement available through the community to say, hey, look, I'm not going to pay property taxes on something that is clearly not worth what it was when you assessed it.
Right.
Those are discussions that are happening at the municipal level, both the county and the city. I don't know what ultimately will be decided, what that process will be, but it is not uncommon for some process so that homeowners can say, for only half of the year, I had a fully assessed property. So
right.
Getting some assistance back on that is likely to be a consideration.
But what if somebody has to buy a generator, out of their own pocket because they don't have any power in their house? Can they write that off? Or I know you're not an accountant, so it's probably a dumb question for you, but maybe Well,
I can't speak to the tax side of it, but what I can say is that through the FEMA assistance, if you did have to buy a generator because of the storm, to just to keep your house functional, definitely keep receipts for that. And when an inspector comes, you apply for FEMA, and the inspector comes and looks at the damages, make sure that they understand that, hey, look, I bought this generator because I needed it, and there may be funds available through FEMA to help pay for that. I don't remember. It's probably a max of around $600 But still, it's something, and that includes things like generators and chainsaws, and a handful of other items: smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. So make sure you're keeping an accounting of what you might have had to buy. If you can get funds for it through FEMA, that's great. And if not, it's still good to have, so that as you get into next tax season, and as more of the kind of the rules and flexibilities come out, you'll have that, the accounting of it ready to go.
So we're getting a lot of questions, and we had this last time we spoke. FEMA for second homes, is it primary residence only? Are there any options for secondary homes?
Yeah, so on the FEMA side, we are aiming at primary homeowners. Those would be the folks that would be eligible for FEMA assistance. And primary homeowners, you have to think about, are you here more than 6 months a year? Does your driver's license have this address? Are you registered to vote here? Some of those are some of the considerations for primary homeowners. If you're a secondary homeowner, this is a place you spend maybe just a few months over the winter. Through the FEMA side, not as much, but through the Small Business Administration, that would be your avenue for getting. I know they're low interest loans. It's not what anybody wants right now, but that is an avenue for a lot of assistance to help with second homes.
So with the small, when you hear small business loan, people think that's just for businesses. So it's for individuals as well.
Yeah, it certainly can be. Obviously, it does cover businesses, small businesses. It's a great agency. I really wish they would change their name in these scenarios, because yes, it is for individuals. In fact, if you apply for FEMA assistance, one of the almost automatic things that's going to happen is you're going to receive an application for Small Business Administration, because they do have loans for individuals, usually for personal property, for help with repairs and replacements. If you are eligible, it's a great avenue to get assistance. Interest rates are usually 2 to 3%, which is pretty decent. And then if you're not eligible for an SBA loan, you get automatically referred back to FEMA to see if there's additional assistance to help with things like personal property.
Does FEMA plan on bringing down any temporary housing yet?
That's a very popular question these days. I know that those discussions are being had between FEMA and the state, but that's at the Tallahassee and the higher levels. So what they're trying to do is come up with a longer term housing plan that is executable, is reasonable, is equitable. But that's not going to be a quick fix. It never is. So I would keep your focus on the rental assistance housing repair that's available right now, and any thoughts of travel trailers, modular homes that are coming down. If those happen, you're still looking at a couple of months away before you see those on the ground.
So what was that rental assistance program you mentioned?
Yeah, it's one of the pockets of funding through FEMA. I mentioned housing repair, so money to fix the walls and the roof and such. There's also funds available if you're not able to stay at your home, the damage is such that you can't live there, then you may be eligible for rental assistance from FEMA, where you would be given essentially money to go and to find a new place, a temporary place, while repairs are being done to your primary home.
What about people who are renting? Would they also be eligible for that?
Yes, they would. Again, if you're the rental unit, in this case in Fort Myers Beach, if it was not habitable and you needed to find a new rental, and that could be a new temporary rental or a new permanent rental, you still might be eligible for assistance from FEMA to help you with that process.
Let's rip through some of these questions that people are asking on Facebook here, Sam. The first one I missed was, is there an appeal process if FEMA says no go?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of folks now that we've had almost 2 weeks of registrations are starting to receive determination letters that say, maybe you were not referred to the individual households program, or maybe you were not eligible for this assistance because X, Y, and Z reason. If you feel that's an error, if you're not sure what it means, then I would absolutely either call the 800 number, go to one of the DRC, the disaster recovery centers, talk to somebody, find out specifically what is the issue here? What is holding up my case? What can I do, or what potentially can I do to get it moved forward? So there's always the potential to appeal and get things moving from there.
So what factors cause a denial? And so people can be aware of that and kind of keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, the most current one right now we're seeing a lot of is folks that indicated they have insurance. FEMA assistance cannot duplicate insurance coverage. So it doesn't stop it doesn't completely cut you off from the process. It just puts it on hold, the FEMA side, until you have a chance to figure out what is your insurance going to cover, or is it not going to cover anything at all? In which case you would send a letter from your insurance company that says, hey, look, we don't cover this. You had homeowners and this was flood damage, so it's not covered. Send that determination letter to FEMA. We'll say, okay, great. Now we know that your insurance is not going to cover it. We'll move forward with the rest of the assistance.
Is it FEMA? I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say that's the most common reason that we're seeing. Other reasons might be because it's not your primary residence. It also can be administrative things in terms of you haven't submitted paperwork to show that you are in fact the owner, or that you were in fact living there at the time of the disaster. So those are some of the things, and that's why I'd encourage folks to find out specifically what might be holding up their case and see if that can be corrected.
And I think I can answer a question for some folks out there, and Sam, feel free to correct me. FEMA doesn't remove debris. What happens is the county, the way it's working now at Fort Myers Beach is the state and the county are working with the town to remove the debris together, because it was too big a job for the town and their staff. And then the municipalities have to apply for reimbursement from FEMA. That's how that works. FEMA's not going around with their own trucks and picking up debris like that. It's a money thing, right, Sam? It's a money thing for FEMA. It
really is a money thing. The counties, the municipalities, they have contracts with providers to bring those trucks around to pick everything up, to dispose of it. And on the back end of it all, FEMA writes the state a big check for however much money they spend.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask that question. If you can pop it up, Sylvie. No, down. So the question is, my home was deemed uninhabitable. I was only given $1,600 in repairs, while a lot of neighbors received $37,000. What can I do? Or how does that happen? How does that inconsistency happen?
Yeah, it's important to remember that, your experience might be different than your neighbor's experience, and, versus someone down the street. So it's you don't want to be comparing what you got versus what your neighbor got, because the scenarios are very different. So for a situation like that, I would definitely, if you have estimates for the damage that was caused, if you have any other information, pull that together, send it back to FEMA, or go to a disaster recovery center and bring it to them and say, look, here's the estimates that I got. Here's what I saw as the amount of damage that is incurred. It's different than what the inspector, that you sent out indicated. So, is there a way to have it re-inspected? That way we can direct the inspector to, hey, you missed X, Y, and Z last time. Let's count those the second time and potentially get additional assistance. So, going back to your question about can you appeal? Yeah, to that particular question, I would strongly encourage that person to appeal.
So Jim asks, his whole time was 234 minutes. 612. That's like 4 hours. How does he contact somebody?
Yeah, there have been extremely long lines going into the FEMA 800 number. There are, I think last time I looked, over 500,000 applicants across just the state of Florida, and that's that's on the heels of Hurricane Fiona that went through all of Puerto Rico and all the other disasters. So wait times have been extremely long. So if you are, if you're not getting a timely response from the 800 number, a couple other things to do would be to go into a disaster recovery center. Right now, there are 2 open in the Fort Myers area, one at the Parks Library and one at the state offices on Victoria Ave, more downtown. That way you can physically walk in, talk to somebody, sit down and have that conversation without having to wait online for, however many hours that was. I would also encourage folks, if you are comfortable going online or downloading the FEMA app, that way you can see the communications that are coming in a little more in real time. It's not as good for having a one-on-one conversation. It's really only good for faster uploads of your own documents or getting official responses from FEMA. But if you feel comfortable with that level of technology, I would encourage it.
Well, how long? I just want to ask, how long are FEMA representatives going to be at places like Lakes Library and downtown?
Yeah, what we really do is we have that conversation with the county and the municipalities to say, hey, what are the numbers? Are we seeing them go up, go down? And once they get down to the level where it's hard to justify having that building designated as a recovery center, or it's hard to justify having the staff there, then we'll look at a closing date for it. But right now, there's no end date to how long those will be there.
Maybe just a suggestion. Maybe you can call the president. Maybe you could call the president and say, instead of hiring those 87,000 IRS agents, they need them at FEMA. I mean, it seems like it would be a better use of federal dollars to help people rather than go after them. But I know you don't have to answer. You certainly don't have to answer that. So,
right. Let's go. I'm starting a list from my mouth to the White House's ears. So yeah, I'll put it on it.
I just want to say, I just want to pause for a minute and really thank you for coming on, because your answers they're the right length. They have the right information, and
rapid fire the questions from the people that really.
So
and I can stick in a dumb comment every now and again. So here's the question from Rosie. Ask FEMA if they will pay for structural engineering. All of us have to do one, and they're expensive.
Yeah, so the money that is provided from FEMA for housing assistance, it can be used for any part of your housing repair process. If there is architectural work, engineering work, or even if it's just drywall and shingles, we give you the funds, and then it's sort of incumbent upon you to figure out what the best way to use those funds would be.
So I've heard a lot of people go into FEMA and then come out and say, I got $700. What is that $700? Is that all they're going to get? Is that an initial housing assistance? Like, what is that?
Yeah, so the $700 is something called critical needs assistance. And it's sort of what you had alluded to. It's a quick hitter. It's if you applied and you indicated that I don't have food, I don't have water, I don't have clothing, I have an immediate need, then that's when you may be eligible for that $700, which is really just to get you through the first couple of days, or whatever it is that you might need. It's not really part of the full housing assistance, rental assistance, personal property. Really, it's just to get you through the here and now.
After you get the $700 and people go through the process, is there a review process that FEMA undertakes to look at cases?
So I mentioned, we give you sort of a lump sum, and we say, here is the money, use it for housing repair. Here's the money, use it for rent of some sort. Here's the money, use it for personal property.
Okay.
We don't look to, we're not checking receipts. We're not doing an accounting to say, hey, not every penny went to the Home Depot, therefore you're going to owe us something. If it's something that's really abusive or exorbitant, there might be some follow-up, but for the most part, no. Like I said, we give you the funds. We entrust that you're going to use it for the things that you need it for.
Okay, I'm just kind of looking through the questions here. For FEMA people sitting there in a huge air-conditioned tent, okay, without any people there. So, I mean, they're there. It sounds like they're there, and maybe everybody should really go see somebody at FEMA. I mean, if they're giving away $750 and no strings attached, or whatever the number, $700, then if you need it, if you need it, you need it. Take it if you need it.
I've been at Lakes Library, because when I was there a couple of I don't know. I've lost all track of time. But when I was there, say last week, people were saying it was 3 hours. And I will say that the staff that was there that had FEMA badges were extremely polite. They were extremely helpful. So shout out to you and your crew. But how long have the lines been as of recently?
Yeah, I've heard the same thing at Lakes Library, especially the first couple of days that it was open. They were seeing over 700 people per day. So the amount of time that you spend waiting in line depends on how quickly those go. If somebody there to ask a question or just to register. So as we get further and further into this, those lines have a tendency to become shorter and shorter. So what the line might have been today, I unfortunately don't know. But if you have that question where you need one-on-one assistance, it's probably worth going. They are open 7 days a week. I believe their hours are 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. So if you go earlier, you might have a better chance of getting there before the rush. But we'll keep those open as long as people continue to have a need for them.
Sam, have you ever been involved in something where you've seen like an entire community, like the entire community, once you get over that bridge, there's no power, there's no water, there's no sewer, and the debris is crazy. It's an unknown as to when the first person will ever get power to their house because FPL shut it off. The devastation is just, the pictures don't do it justice. Have you ever seen anything like that on a national level where it's people are just, they've lost everything?
Yes, unfortunately I have. You spend, I think I'm now on 8 years working in this position, and everything from Hurricane Harvey in Texas, Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, the Camp Fire out in California. So yeah, there are definitely a lot of scenarios where people have lost everything. They're trying to sift through whatever's left. In some cases, it's just the simple return of power after it being out in weeks. I had a coworker who was impacted in Puerto Rico and didn't have power back for close to a month, and she was just crying with relief when it finally came back on. So, unfortunately, yes, these things happen, but debris removal, infrastructure, power, water, sewer, those are the priorities in the response. So those are the things that you'll see up and running on the earlier end of the response and recovery.
So someone was asking, can FEMA inspectors come on the beach Monday and or Tuesday, the 17th or 17th and 18th? Now, it was my understanding that there were some FEMA representatives on the beach a couple of days ago. Is that your
What do you mean by FEMA inspectors?
Yeah, so as part of the process for individual assistance, you register, and then at some point you receive a phone call from what we call them FEMA inspectors. They're contractors who are trained to go out and look at a property and sort of determine how much of the walls were damaged, how much of the roof was damaged. And that inspection process, it all sort of tabulates out to the amount of money that you receive for housing repair and personal property. So inspectors have been on and out there. It's not like they're there one day or a couple of days a week. It's based on whatever schedule they set up with that particular homeowner. We try to bunch them as much as we can, but unfortunately, it's just too many things coming and going to be overly coordinated. We also do have disaster survivor assistance teams that are down there specifically on Fort Myers Beach. Those are a little more visible, proverbial boots on the ground. You'll see them more in their FEMA vests, and their job is to interact with people, to register folks for FEMA assistance, to try to answer very high-level questions about what the next steps and what the process is going to look like. So they will continue to be down in Fort Myers Beach. I know they were there today, and they'll continue to be there so long as there's a need.
Ashley's question is, what if a decision was made and we never had an inspection or phone call?
I would be very cognizant of that. If you received a call from an inspector, if you had some activity going on in your name and you never applied, then I would definitely be worried that there might be some fraudulent activity, and I would certainly look to report that. Unfortunately, with all of these, especially with the critical needs assistance at $700 I mentioned, it generates a lot of fraud, and people will take advantage of it. So if you see things as a survivor, if you see things that are going on in your name, but you have no recollection of applying, I would definitely reach out and see what the story is with that, because there may be potential fraud there.
Let's take a question from Cheryl. Can we make repairs before FEMA is able to visit the property and take photos and keep receipts?
Yes, absolutely. You should not be delaying any of the work that you need to do. Our FEMA inspectors are trained to, even if you've started the demolition process, they'll be able to go out and look and still do their assessment. So if you are ready to get on with the demolition repairs, whatever it might be, I would still take pictures. I would still keep receipts, absolutely, but don't feel like you have to wait for FEMA before you can move forward with that.
And I think you, dear, might have misinterpreted or misread the question. But the question about the denial, it was this person had applied and got a decision, but they never had an inspector reach out. So they were denied without getting a FEMA inspector out there. So I think that's the question.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's unusual. If you were the primary applicant and you provided your phone number, unless there's somebody else on your account, a spouse or other family member who might have met the inspector, I would definitely reach out to a DRC or the helpline and say, hey, a decision was made. I don't ever remember meeting with an inspector. Can you just kind of let me know what's going on? They should be able to tell you on which day the inspector was out there, because you do want to make sure that you're able to, have that conversation with the inspector.
Does an inspector go out for every claim that somebody makes through FEMA?
Yes, they do. Every claim that is referred to the individual household program, who says, hey, I have housing damage, or I have personal property loss, we send an inspector out just to verify it and figure out, how much damage actually occurred.
Regardless of the extent.
Yeah, if you say it was just a little damage, if you say it was a complete loss, we've definitely had inspectors had to go out and say, this house was barely affected. Maybe a shingle came off, and that's it. And we've also had inspectors go out and say, hey, there's nothing here, like the entire house is gone. So yes, we go out and try to do our due diligence on every claim.
How long, I just want to ask, how long does that, I mean, I know it depends on the number of claims, but in this situation that we're in now, I would think the claims are going to be a lot. I mean, I wouldn't even hazard a guess. How long does that take?
Yeah, well, it's going to take as long as it takes. I think our average between when we send a case to an inspector and between when they make contact with that survivor is probably around 5 days, just because that's their caseload. As we see that there are more and more people applying, we'll continue to bring down additional inspectors to try to keep those wait times and those lag times as minimal as possible. And we will continue to have inspectors in the field, I'm sure, for months as claims continue to come in, as people request appeal or secondary inspections.
We're going to take a question from friends at Royal Scoop Ice Cream, the official ice cream of Beach Talk Radio, by the way, Sam, if you're ever up for some good ice cream. Why after 16 days are we still in this position? Is this, I don't think he thinks it's moving fast enough.
Yeah, it doesn't move as fast as everybody would like. There's just no way around that, especially the conditions on the beach where the municipality was closed off it was over a week, I believe, and that definitely delays the process of getting into the recovery. And it's because there was so much of the response phase to do the search and rescue that had to go on. That has to happen first before we can get into the FEMA inspectors and the funds going out there. So unfortunately, that's just the speed at which this is moving.
So for people who lost all their documents, how does that work?
Yeah, and that certainly happens at the Disaster Recovery Center, the location at the Lakes Library. We brought down a number of county and state agencies that can help with replacing your driver's license, replacing Social Security cards, so that you can get some of those documents, even if they're just temporary, so that you can then go to FEMA and say, hey, look, I have a license of some sort to prove who I am, and get that process moving forward. So yeah, it is a concern, and it is something we try to bring those services to the DRCs as well.
So is there a limit on the amount of money each homeowner can get from FEMA?
Yes, there is. So there are 3 distinct pockets of money for housing assistance. So that's the repair. To replace the drywall, fix the roof. $37,900 is the max. That doesn't mean that's what you'll necessarily get, but that is the highest amount. For personal property, so your stuff, your clothes, your living room set, kitchen set, all of that, again, $37,900 is the max that you could get. And lastly, for rental assistance, so if you are displaced while your home is being repaired, the max that you could receive for rental assistance, you guessed it, $37,900 or 18 months worth of assistance, whichever comes first.
So is it feasible that someone gets all of that?
It is feasible. Yeah. It's unusual to see the full extent paid out in all 3 categories. Certainly it's more common to see the max, we call them max grants. So the maximum award for housing repair, that's the most common.
So what is the average length of time from application to when somebody's going to get the 1, 2, 3 checks or 0?
Yeah, it depends a little bit on that particular application. If everything goes in smoothly, if you have all your documents, you're not delayed by any conflicts with insurance, from the date of application to an inspection, you're probably talking 5 to 7 days. From the inspection being completed until the time you see funds sent out to you, we tell people 7 to 10 days. It's probably a little on the shorter side than that. It's faster if you use EFT, electronic funds transfer. If you do a paper check, it can be a little bit longer, especially given the conditions within the county.
Got it. So how much money has FEMA dispersed to Lee County or Fort Myers Beach so far?
Yeah, so if we back up big picture to the state of Florida, just for this disaster, $358 million. For Lee County, again, just individuals and households program, so money in the hands of survivors, $108 million. And then for Fort Myers Beach specifically, $18.3 million into the hands of survivors. Keeping in mind that, because inspectors have only been allowed on the beach for, the last 5 days or so, that total is going to be a little behind what it might be for other municipalities.
Is there a budget for Fort Myers Beach or Lee County or Florida that you can or you got what you need according to the president? You'll get what you need.
Yeah, the short answer is we'll get what we need. It comes from the Disaster Relief Fund, which is funded by Congress every year, and it funds all of the disasters and disasters operations around the country each year.
18.3 million so far, and
that's the cumulative of the 700 that have been given out, because they haven't had a chance to really do the whole kit and caboodle, right?
No, it's a cumulative of the $700 rental assistance, housing repair funds, personal property funds, all of that wrapped up is that 18.3 million.
Got it. Well, Sam, we always appreciate your time. 45 minutes goes by so quick, and
it really does.
Yeah, and you're so gracious to us, and
again,
it's almost like you have to be a regular every couple of weeks to check in. And how, by the way, how long will you be in town?
I'll be in town for a minimum of 30 days. I think it's likely it'll be a little bit longer than that. But once we get to the end of my initial 30-day engagement, we'll sort of see what the need is and how much people still tolerate me.
No, I think
our people love you.
And I think that you just, even though you probably feel like you answer some of our questions a second time, it is a lot of
Repetition,
information.
good.
It's really a lot of information. So on that timeline thing that you're going to be here 30 days, what is the timeline for people to apply, and will it be extended? Is there a grace period?
Yeah, right now it's 60 days from the date of the incident. So I think that the last day to apply would be November 28th, if my math holds. The state can ask for an extension of that. I don't know if we're at the point where that decision has been made. If that is extended, it will usually go in, another 30-day chunk. But that will be publicized as much as we can so that folks know that they can, take that extra time to get applications in.
All right, Sam, thanks so much. And you have a great weekend, and we look forward to talking to you again.
All right. Well, I look forward to being again. Thank you for the opportunity. And, I would just tell all the folks, please continue to ask questions. Please continue to advocate. That's the way that things get done. So thank you all.
Thanks a lot, Sam Harvey from FEMA. Always great for him to come on, and he's always a gracious guest and answer all the questions. Yeah.
Answering the questions and being succinct.
Yeah. And he's got the perfect, he's in the perfect position. And yeah.
No, folks, there's so many more questions, and, we'll have him on again, but
the answer is apply for everything. See what happens.
It is confusing.
Try and find lakes.
People to help people, because it is a lot.
Especially being that you're being hit with this the first time. You don't really know what the process is. You have to teach yourself the process. You've never been. Yeah, I didn't.
People who are realtors and people who are owners, and
right.
The fact that inspectors are going to come out on every case. So
I wonder if they're going to be out on the cases Monday and Tuesday, when I guess they can't be. Well, some residents will be there. They don't have to leave. So
I was surprised about. Now I feel like everybody should apply.
Why not? So
we made a claim. We have a deductible. So I was like, forget it. But he made it sound like, give it a shot and at least let them deny you or not. So I think you have to keep on it. And
Lori, I think the answer is it's just trucks. It's trucks trying to clean debris. It's people trying to get out. It's just everybody's trying to do thing on something that has one lane in and one lane out, and it's full of debris. I think that's the only answer. I don't think there's anything crazy going on. It's just the way it's going to be. I mean, a lot of people have been saying it's taken them a long time to get from wherever they are off the island, where, back in the old days, it was just the other way. Getting off the island was fine, but everything's going on in every direction, every side street, and they're really trying to clean things up. So
they're not able to use the south end as an
on-off. Put your headphones on for our next guest while I use the you-know-what. So Koss, everybody knows John Koss on the island. So we're going to put our cans on and call John and use that one there.
You have to say the end, folks.
I know. We do.
Hello.
John Koss, you are live on the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach, Beach Talk Radio, with your host, Kim and Ed Ryan.
Hey, Ed, how you doing?
Good. Kim's here, too. Don't leave her out, man. Don't leave her out.
Hey, Kim, I'm sorry. Let me get away from the generator noise so that doesn't muffle you guys out.
It's on the ground in Fort Myers Beach, so.
Hey, Ed, as I was telling you earlier, I don't want to alarm people, but I just wanted to give them a heads up, because most people I'm talking to don't understand, or they're looking for some answers on this process. So I stopped in the city hall and talked to them about this once or twice. So if you're below the floodplain elevation, on this island, which most people are, unless you've just built a house recently and you're above it, even house on stilts are most likely below the base flood elevation. People are going to have to follow the 50% FEMA rule. So essentially what that means is I will send you some directions, Ed, after this via text message that you can post. People can go right on the LIPA site and see what the market value, or the current value of the structure is on their property. This isn't what your property's worth. This is just what the county is saying the structure of your property's worth. Once you see that, they're going to allow you an additional 20% on what it says. Okay. And then from there, you only get 50% of that value to renovate your house. And if you can't do it within 50% or can't do it within that money, then you're not going to be allowed to renovate your house. So real quickly, because I know I just threw a lot of numbers.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're going to have to back.
Okay, so I'll send you a message over to where people can easily go on LIPA and look up the values of their house. Okay, this is the first way to do this. Okay, let's just say for discussion purposes, you look on there and it says that the value of your home, the structures on your property is $100,000.
Okay.
They're going to allow you to increase that by 20%, which means it would go up to $120,000. Okay. But then you're only allowed to use 50% of that. So that brings you down to $60,000.
Okay.
Okay. So most of us need new roofs and new electric. So, I'll tell you, my neighbor next to me, his value is $80,000. His market value is $80,000. So he would have to do his entire house for money he's not going to be able to do it for.
So sticking with the 60K, sticking with the 100 goes to 120 and then down to 60. That's 60,000. What is that number again? What is that? That's to
basically renovate the structure of your house. You need to do it then they're not going to permit you to do it. Now, in the past, and I don't want to get people in trouble, but in the past, there's been some workarounds with that to where people have applied for multiple permits and finished a permit before the next one was out. I don't know how they're going to go about it now, if they're going to let people do that or not, but I'm only throwing this out there so people can, make some educated decisions. I'm an AC contractor, so I have a ton of people calling here telling me, hey, can you go over my house and put an AC system in downstairs? I'm telling people, don't make any decisions on the downstairs of your house until you run some numbers and you start to see what you're looking at financially. No, this would be in order to do this. This is if you don't bring it up to hurricane standards. If you do bring it up, like my house, for example, these numbers are too tight for me when I look at my house. So my plan is I called my insurance companies and seen if I take my insurance money, can I use that to basically build a new house instead of renovate my house? And I was told yes. I think that there's some people that are going to need to make some tough decisions like that, to where they might not be able to renovate their house how it used to be, or how it was, and they should make them decisions early. I know it's a lot to do early, but I just wanted to get some of the facts out there. Now, if perchance,
hang on a minute, John.
Well, no, hold on.
No one heard the question.
Hold on, John.
So
my wife forgot to turn her microphone on because I left the room to get the UPS guy in the garage for the next batch of boxes that were delivered for the beach.
So what you're explaining, my question, which was not a great question, I'm going to have have a bell taken away, was that if that 60,000 is to bring it up to code, and your point was that's not the situation.
No, that's if you cannot bring it up to code, meaning
right.
You're below the base flood elevation and you're going to rebuild what you have.
Okay. And you have 60 grand to do that.
Well, listen, that was just an example. Like everybody's home is valued differently. So you need to check your home. Now, the other caveat to this is if you've had your house appraised and you have an official appraisal that's already been done that says the value of your house is more than when it says on LIPA, it sounds like to me that the city's going to accept that. Mm-hmm. But obviously none of us can get our houses reappraised now after this has happened. So, those are your two alternatives. You're going to have to follow that. You'll have to follow the 50% rule one way or the other, but it'll either be based on the LIPA appraisal, or if you have a separate appraisal that was done, they will accept that. And then you'll have to adhere to the money that was in that appraisal.
We got a question.
Your microphone.
Yeah, but I caught it. Got it. So if it costs more than $60K to renovate, you can't get a permit. Is that true?
With the example that he gave.
I missed the example. So
just now, I multiple people today, I've looked them up on LIPA and communicated with them. some people are falling into like the 125, 150,000 range. Some people are much lower. They're down in that 60,000 range. So, and I can't figure out the rhyme or reason of, my house is exactly like my neighbor's house, and his value on LIPA is 80,000 and mine's 125. I don't know what the difference is or why it is that way, but I don't think that's something that can be changed. It is what it is at this point.
I wonder when they did it, like when they did the
I was wondering if it was done, if houses have been sold recently, so they had appraisals done recently, but my neighbor has owned his house for 23 days. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So
we're gonna actually have Paula Kiker on at some point next week too, to talk about real estate and to, what if you were selling, should you buy? I mean, I know that's not right now, but it'd be interesting to get the perspective of real estate, and is it worth what it was before Ian? I would think. Go ahead, John.
The people in my mind that I fear for the most in this scenario are people that their house was on stilts, but they still took water in their house, and their downstairs floor is obviously, anybody on the beat 8 feet down, their place is ruined. Then people are going to have a really hard time working within this 50% rule for FEMA. So if that's you, you really need to look at these numbers before you make any decisions, and then and come up with the best plan for your family.
John, realistically, there's not a single structure. I mean, I'm exaggerating. I'm exaggerating, but there's really not a single structure left on Fort Myers Beach that can beat the 50% rule. I mean, most of them in the red zone were damaged.
I will tell you, and I don't want to put names on people or anything, because they were very good with me and communicated with me real well. That was the exact comment that I was getting back from one of the planners there, to where he finds it hard that anybody on this beach is going to be able to make the 50% rule that had significant damage to their house.
But why would you want to build at the ground level after seeing what you just saw? You would want to be in an area where you'd want your structure standing next time it happened.
That's why I told you my decision for my family down here. I'm going to be on this beach for the rest of my life. So I looked at my wife and I said, it's hard, but we're going to have to knock our house down, and we're building a house above the base flood elevation. And at this particular time, we do have insurance money available to us. I feel really bad for people who don't have insurance money available to them. Today I hugged 3 people crying on my shoulders as I was there looking at their ACs, who told me I don't have insurance, and that's just going to be a horrible situation for them people. I'm hoping that the federal government steps in and does something, but I don't know. But I just wanted to get that baseline of information out there, because a lot of people don't understand what that means. And I think it's something really important for you to take into consideration when you're thinking about what the future plan for your home is going to be.
Can you give out the website again? Because
a couple of people have been asking.
Yep. It's LIPA. What is
it?
LIPA.org.
LIPA.org is the county website, and you have to click on a couple different things. I could explain it on air to you on how to do it. I don't know if it's easier if I just send you a text message explaining exactly where to click, but you can find it out within like 5 minutes, and then you'll at least know. You add 20% to that, and then divide it in half, and that's what the town is looking at, is the total budget to renovate your house.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I said it flippantly, like, why wouldn't you want to be up above where the next storm could knock your house down? And I understand that it's a cost issue. It's like it's gonna bankrupt a lot of people, or they won't be able to afford it.
Right.
So do you
understand, if you make that decision and you build up higher, that there's some life cycle cost savings to you, because now instead of your flood insurance being $8,000 to $10,000 a year, that drops to probably $1,000 a year. So there is some life cycle cost savings to you on your house from doing it. And then also, when your flood adjuster comes to your house, if it's something you're even thinking about that maybe I will rebuild, FEMA has some programs. I believe the one's called ICC. Ask your flood adjuster about that. That's when FEMA will give you, I believe, $35,000 to add to the insurance monies that you're getting to help you offset the cost of raising your house.
Thank you, Nina and Christy and everybody typing in the website address there. So now let me think here. I forgot what I was going to ask him. Shoot. I can't do two things at the same time, John.
What was that? Go to the bathroom and ask a question?
No. I had a great question lined up and I just completely dropped off because I was trying to spell Lipa. Does anyone have any other questions? I think Jim had a question up here. Let me see. Greg Skasny says you're a great human. Are you friends with Greg? I don't know if that qualifies as a great human right there. Might disqualify you. Will they raise the base flood elevation after Ian? Do you know?
I don't know that for certain if they will or won't, but I do believe that, and this is just my opinion, so don't take it for fact, but this is the federal government we're dealing with. So I don't think anything will happen really fast.
Nope.
So you know what I mean? But yeah. But I don't know. And to tell you the truth, I don't know exactly what our base flood elevation is down here on the beach, but I'm assuming all the new homes, when you drive down Estero Boulevard, what it is, you have to be 1 foot over that base flood elevation. They're probably all right at that. So that's about high that you're probably talking about.
Got it.
Someone was asking what's ICC. Do you know what that stands for?
I don't. When I asked my adjuster, he had a brain fart too, and he's like, "Oh, I can't think of the program." But if you just mention to your adjuster, I just asked him point blank, hey, I'm thinking about just taking your money and building my house up high. Are you guys going to have an issue with this? And they said, we don't have any issues. So then I called my mortgage company, because they're the ones that have to sign off on your checks, the mortgage company. And I talked to them and said, hey, I want to be here. I don't want to go through this again. My family lost everything. We have the shirts on our back now. I don't want to go through this again. So if I want to go this route, will you sign off on the checks? And they said, yes, we will sign off on the checks, but we need to have a copy of your plans before we agree to sign off on it. So you'll have to have plans drawn up. I'm assuming that's just my mortgage company. I don't know if they're all the same. This is just my experience, but I'm assuming that, that they'll probably all be the same, because in the end, they want everybody to build above the base flood elevation. So
Dave's question for you is, can you comment on condominiums and how that applies?
I cannot. I don't know how it applies to condominiums.
Gotcha. So the insurance, is anybody even going to be able to get insurance after this storm?
I've tussled with that when thinking about what to do with my house, but I do revert back to where it's a federal program. So I don't think that they could discriminate and say, we're not going to give you flood insurance. However, once your policy is canceled and you renew with a flood company, because my friend's an insurance guy, like right now, I was paying $2,800 a year for my flood insurance. Okay. In the future, because this will probably be stopped and then I'll have to get a new plan in the future. I have a feeling that that's going to go up significantly. So for people that were paying that amount, you might be paying significantly double, triple more in the future if you're below that base flood elevation.
Oh, okay. But if you raise up, you're going to
if you're above the base flood elevation, you're going to have a lot of savings. And like I said, over the life cycle cost, over 20 years, you may save yourself, $150,000 to $200,000 if you plan on staying here. So
John, spitball it here. What do you think the percentage of the folks on Fort Myers Beach is that had flood insurance?
From my interactions now, I'm interacting with a lot of people because my company's been here for a while. So I have a lot of customers that are calling me and coming to look at their place. And so far, I'm talking to people that at least 1 out of every 3 that I've talked to doesn't have flood insurance, at least. And that's just in my small, the people that I've been communicating with.
And so
how many people have had no insurance that you've communicated with?
Are you allowed to have no insurance?
I've ran into 2 of them. I've ran into 2 of them. I ran into people that have rentals down here. That they're just renting their place out and they have liability coverage on their place if somebody gets hurt, but they didn't have hurricane or flood. And then that's where, if that happened to you, obviously I hope that you've contacted FEMA and asked for assistance from FEMA, because then that's where they step in. I've heard some people that had flood insurance but didn't have any contents in their flood insurance, which is my scenario as well. I've heard of one person so far that FEMA is going to give them some contents money in addition to the flood insurance they're going to get. But, I don't know that for a fact. This is just the interactions that I've had dealing with people.
Well, I do want to give a shout out to Jorge Barrera. I don't even think we knew him before this whole thing came up. He bought an ad on our news website to support the show, and he's been great with trying to line up guests. And so we just want to make sure that we mention how great it's been to develop a business relationship with him and his company. And it was nice of him to reach out, and he's also donated quite a bit of money to the fund, which is great to see new people that we didn't know before all of this happened. So many people. And any other questions for John? John, is there anything? Go ahead.
I will make one comment after going down there and dealing with the city. I know the frustration level is high from a lot of people right now, but I've walked into that office twice on my own and just asked to speak to people, and they sit down and they speak to you and they explain things to you. So, there's not a lot of communication coming down from the top that's explaining things to us. But if you have questions, they've been very good with me. And because this was in my background, I understand the terminology and the language. So I felt comfortable going in there. They've been helpful for me when I walked in, but flat out, I don't think that they have a lot of these answers yet. I think that what happened to
Steven says, I have flood insurance and it covers almost nothing. So what's the purpose of having flood insurance? You would think that if you had flood insurance, you'd be fine with what just happened.
I'll tell you, with my experience with my flood insurance, I saw my adjuster. He came out. I'm on the south end of the island. I took about 7 feet 2 inches through my house. It took everything. He walked up to my house, looked at me, and said, "I'm signing off for the max for you on your plan." He said that this is going to be so high that you're not even going to have to pay your deductible. That's been my experience with him. I'm hearing other people say things,
but
everybody.
Company?
Yeah, what is the name of your insurance company?
I think they're Integrity, but I have to find out. I got so many different insurances on different things. But I will tell you that everybody that I have spoken to in my realm, my community, has had the same type of experience with the flood companies. And my first call after this happened wasn't to the insurance companies. It was to my insurance lawyer to ask him
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, to ask him, and this is
bullshit that you pay out all that money on insurance and you have to then call a lawyer to help you get what you've been paying into.
Well, this was the advice he gave me, and it was good advice. At least it's been sound so far. He said, "John, you don't want to retain me right at the beginning. You want to see how your insurance companies are going to handle you." He said, "I'm assuming," he's like, "be secured. Your flood's going to pay out. You're going to get all your flood. The homeowners is where the grope's going to come, because the homeowner companies are going to try to say this was a flood event. It wasn't a wind event." And that's where the pickle's going to come back and forth. He said, if you start sensing that from your homeowner's company, then at that time you need to retain somebody, a private adjuster or a lawyer. But don't have them tag on to your flood policy, because they charge 10%. The flood policy most likely is going to pay out. It's the homeowners that you might have to, get litigious with them with. But you don't want him signing onto your flood if your flood's going to pay out anyway. It's just wasted money.
It's ridiculous that you can stand in front of a house as an insurance adjuster or whatever they're called and look and see that, okay, I can see the water level here, so that's not my responsibility. That's his responsibility. Oh, by the way, he doesn't have this insurance or that insurance. The people that have been paying through the nose for years. How do you live with yourself when you say that to people?
One of the biggest differences, Ed, is flood insurance is federally backed. So when you get your check for the flood insurance, it will come from the Department of the Treasury. Homeowners insurance are private companies and private firms. So I don't think I need to explain any more of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's the difference, or that's the catch in here.
Somebody said, Jim said, can you recommend a good insurance attorney? You want to throw the guy's name out there?
I'll send you some contact information. I just want to find out from him that it's okay that I put his name out there, and then I'll send you the contact information.
By the way, everybody, FEMA, I'm going back to FEMA. I have been throwing somebody's name to folks if they need an attorney to help them with the FEMA process, because we have an attorney that we worked with for something completely different. And she's awesome. She's a bulldog and she doesn't put up with any shit. And if you need an attorney to help you with the FEMA process, then I will continue to send that information to you. I don't want to put it out there on the Facebook, but if you need it, just send me an email. And that's what I've been doing, copying all the information, her contact information to you if you need somebody to help you with the FEMA process.
I'm not sure she's going to like the bulldog reference.
She's a definite bulldog. I mean, how can you not like that? You want a bulldog for an attorney, right?
You just want
You
somebody
don't think
who's
she's a
tough
bulldog?
and smart.
You want
she's
somebody
tough and
more
smart.
like a
I just
Doogie
think-
Howser kind of person.
I guess it depends on what your definition of a bulldog is.
I think a bulldog is a winner. So, okay, John. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. And we'll have to have you back. It's nice to have somebody in the community that's dealing with all that everybody, most of the people that are watching know who you are and can help them out. And they always want to work with people they trust.
Yep.
Are you leaving the show, dear?
All right, my friends.
All right, John.
All right, time for me to get wrangled up and try to go get a shower before.
Where are you? Are you
before
going
they close them
to? Are you
down.
going to Santini Plaza for a shower, or?
No, if they've just got some down there, then maybe I'll go there. But I have
you
been
know
going
what? I
down
need
to
to-
the old Tops parking lot.
No, they have them at the Beach Baptist now. I forgot somebody sent that to me. There's I don't know if they're 24/7, but I do know there's some showers now at the Beach Baptist along with the ones down at the Tops.
Hey,
But
just because you brought up Beach Baptist, the pastor over there, Sean, great guy. I'm
Yeah.
sure you all know. Sean called me the other day, and I called the city to get him in contact with people. Beach Baptist has 500 to 1,000 people that are trying to get on the island just to help with debris removal and stuff. So I'm hoping that the city's coordinating with him on that, because as you guys know, we just need boots on ground here to get all this stuff picked up and moved out of our way.
thanks, John. See you around.
You guys have a blessed night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Kathy says Beach Baptist also has laundry. I didn't know that. That's what people have been asking for. They've been asking for laundry. They've been asking for more stuff on the south end.
It's funny that you bring that up. Not funny, but it's coincidental because I got a message from one of the owners at the Fort Myers Brewery, and they converted one of their food trucks or beer trucks. I should look it up, to a mobile laundry thing.
research.
And she said, Jennifer said, we don't want to come down on the beach yet and hold things up, but they're out there, and that's the plan, is to bring
Kathy,
people.
I'm afraid you
mobile
started. Kathy's probably started a stampede to Beach Baptist. Listen, if you go to Beach Baptist to use their shower or laundry, you have to pick up debris or something. You have to help out because that place got hammered by the storm, and it was such a nice church. Well, they all are nice churches, but we were just in that one anyway. Speaking of why, well, we were in the church because they had a debate. Now, there is an election coming up next Thursday night at 6:00. We were scheduled to do our final new candidate forum tonight at Beach Pottery, where all the Vietnamese pots survived. Out of all of my favorite pots survived, but that was supposed to be tonight at 6:00, and it obviously got canceled because of all this with the storm. So we are going to do a virtual new candidate forum on Thursday night of next week at 6:00. So you still have to go out and vote. You still have to go out and make change. You still have to go out and cast your ballot. And I'm going to make sure that I post all the information about how and where you can vote on the website, on Beach Talk Radio News website. You can go to any polling place, according to Tommy Doyle. They'll pull up your ballot. What are you doing, dear?
I'm getting ready for. If you would
Are
hurry,
we doing a drawing or something? I thought you were fiddling with something. Or I didn't know we were giving away prizes.
We're not giving away prizes.
This is the good part of the show, everybody, where it gets fun. She said we're going to have some fun tonight. Go ahead.
First of all, thank you so much for everybody around the United States, probably around the world, that have been sending in gifts.
Let's not get crazy.
Amazon. Well, we've had
Around
people
the
from
world.
Australia. Anyways, so I want to just, when the Amazon packages come, some of them come with these little notes, and there's lots of notes. So I just wanted to read a couple. And
just read a
so
couple.
prayers being lifted up to all affected in your beautiful community. Spent last winter in Fort Myers. I will return from Cindy in, I'm not going to try,
Sheboygan.
Shakopee, Minnesota. Sorry for your loss. I hope this small gift will help from Lisa Light.
It's always nice for
Thank
people
you.
to put where
Let
they're
me
from,
finish.
though.
Thank you
Put
for
where
all
you're
you're doing, from Andrea Pagano. Here's a gift from Jean. Aunt Jean, your Aunt Jean sent a bunch of tool things. Enjoy your gift from Elizabeth, and prayers from Ohio from the Klazinskis.
Why don't
family.
you pick ones out that you can read next time? So
Can read. And so now, folks, you're just going to have to indulge me a minute. This is it was your birthday recently. And so I have a note from some of your fans, and I want to read this, and then you're going to open your gift.
Oh, look at this.
Yes.
Surprises.
On behalf of your viewers, listeners, please accept this gift. For the last 2 weeks, you and your dinky little podcast, it's in quotes.
That's a shirt right there. Dinky little podcast.
Been our eyes, ears, and voice. We are so appreciative of the work you are doing to help our beloved Fort Myers Beach recover and rebuild. We would really hate to see you dump your bike while trying to ride and video at the same time. Happy birthday. This is from a group of people that all helped and chipped in. And it was Jessica Miller Fluharty that kind of pulled it all together.
So Jessica is also, by the way, Jessica is also in charge of the Amazon wish list. So every time the wish list changes, Jessica is the one behind it. Such good radio right here.
I got you.
Bicycle. There's 2 of them in here. Bicycle.
Yes, there are.
They're the aerodynamic kind.
Oh,
So that means
look at that. So your head will be protected and you won't dump your bike.
Love it, Jessica. Nice job. And it's a size 14. Very good.
I hope mine's bigger because I have a really big head. Well, can you hand
Cookie
me?
loves it.
Can you hand me the helmet while you open this one, please?
By handing you the helmet.
Just because you.
All right. You guys could tune out anytime you want. The helmets are from the helmets are from Sherry Candy. All right. Well, thank you, Sherry, and everybody.
Did you notice?
Oh, there's a camera mount on there. That is an expensive helmet right there. I wish it had those lights. We had the helmets with the lights on them. Very nice.
So
yeah, because when you sweat, they electrocute your heads. Yeah, I like shows with gifts. Oh, this one's wrapped. Oh, Jesus Christmas, dear.
I know.
Nuts. You people are crazy. This is ridiculous.
He's going to cry again.
It's a gold.
Well, maybe that would go with their camera mount.
Insane. Thank you. Who sent this?
The group. And
Listen,
all of
we're
this
doing is
accessories in this
podcast.
kit.
Nuts.
So now you can ride and now you can ride and be videotaping.
Thank you all. This is nuts. Crazy. Wow.
You're ready to go. You are ready to go.
I am in total shock right now. Free shirt for you guys.
How nice is that?
That's insane. I don't know what to say. I'm at a loss for words.
I'm going to say something that you're not going to like.
It's going to be mean. You're going to bring me down after all these nice gifts.
No, it's going to be heartfelt. So.
Here comes.
I have to say that through this whole process. I have seen you well up more with tears in the last couple of weeks than I have in our entire marriage. So I just want to convey to people how grateful we are and how much we appreciate all you've said and how our hearts go out to everybody every time somebody comes and says thank you or picks up a generator like happened today. I had a very, wonderful interaction with people and, we just really appreciate it. Sorry. I just wrote it right down. I'm so sorry.
Well, it's so weird that you say that. Somebody who wasn't on the gift card list sent me an email with all that was going on and all that they lost and the whole thing. And she didn't work for somebody, so she didn't really fit into one of the 2 categories. So I was like, all right, I grabbed all the cards that your dad sent me and all our friends sent me for my birthday, and I put them all in an envelope, and I gave them all to her today. And I was
You
like, I
better
would feel, it would make me feel so much better if you had them, because I mean, we have a
Jacob,
house. We
it
have a
was
house.
nice
You
of
guys, I mean,
Mhm.
it's just so,
Thank
and
you, Jacob.
what is it? Who's,
He was one of the ones she said he had
it's
the
so,
idea.
it's,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm screwing us all.
It's so weird too, because now, and we've had help with,
It was suggested by Jacob.
we've had help with people that like Marie's helping with the t-shirts. They're not really t-shirts, by the way, folks. I mean, these are dry fit shirts. This is no BS right here.
Yeah.
The shirts are $30. If we have to mail them, it's $35. And as soon as we cover the cost, every dollar over that's going back into the employee fund. And I need to I've never had so much trouble trying to spend money in my life. Like, I went to Walmart today, which is a nightmare when you go to Walmart at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because everybody's at Walmart at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I said,
You're running into are not roadblocks, but they're there to protect people from.
well, let me
getting
tell the
ripped
story
off.
first. So I get to the Walmart, and I go up to the manager, and I say, or I go up to whoever, I say, I need to talk to a manager, because I want to buy $10,000 in gift cards, because it's for people that need it on the beach. She goes, oh, yeah, you got to go over there. You got to go to the money thing. So I say to the lady, I wait in line. I say, lady, I want $10,000 in gift cards, and just scan the suckers.
I already
got the
told
money.
you they were not going to do that.
Oh, wait, I need a manager. So we go looking for the manager, and here's the manager. She's got 4-foot long nails. She's not paying. She's not looking at me. She's trying to use her phone with her 4-foot nails. I said, ma'am, I want to buy $10,000 in gift cards for people on the beach. She goes, oh, no, you can't do that. You can only do 3,000. Oh, wait, you can only do 1,000. So I go, okay, whatever. Just let's go. We go back to the thing. They start scanning them one at a time. Now I'm one of those people who I hate when I'm in the line. Now the line's 3, now the line's 4. Now, because the ladies, she loves the fact that we're giving the money to the beach. So we're having conversations, and she's scanning one at a time. And I put my card in, it won't take the card. So I have to use my own card. Now I'm thinking, okay, now we're having another IRS transaction. We're co-mingling funds now.
It's going to be at our door.
She goes, try it again with a different card. So now she's scanning one at a time, another one. And I'm like, we're okay. We're almost
the people
done.
in the line are like, this loser is just.
So I got $2,000. I went in trying to spend $10,000, and I got $2,000
because you didn't follow up.
No, they're not going to match it. I'm not no.
No, we are going to. No,
so
we
need to figure out a better plan. Right. Ellie from 5-3 Bank, she's going to hook us up with more. So,
and the guy from Lake Michigan Credit Union, they're different. One does MasterCard, one does Visa.
So my point is, please keep giving to that fund like you are, and we appreciate it. The rest of the money over 200, I think I can't sit down and do the math now because it's so busy. I wish I was busier at the gym, but then I got stuck. Okay, I didn't tell you this story on purpose. I'm going down Colonial, and I'm thinking, okay, I got plenty of time to get to the printer, who, by the way, blasted these out in 2 days so we can have them tomorrow on the beach. And so I'm going down. I got to make a left on Metro, and I go past Metro because I think I'm going to the other gym on the other side of 41. So now I'm totally screwed. The traffic was so bad. So instead of making the left on Metro, I had to go all the way to 41, down 41 to Crystal, and it was a nightmare, the traffic. But these are small problems compared. I mean, we're just trying to entertain, I guess. So I finally get to the printer.
Let me ask you this. On what side does the sun rise? East or west?
You have to make me look dumb. I don't need any help looking dumb. Why do you have to make it 10 times worse?
Because you have a sense of direction.
So I got the shirts. We have the shirts. If you want to order a shirt, it's $30. Please order a shirt. And we appreciate the gifts. Everybody's been so nice. No, you're going to work on the size.
These are the ones you got right now are men's kind of size.
No, there's women's. Oh, you're wearing a men's shirt. That's why there's women's in the box too.
Well,
There's
I
a
didn't-
whole stack of women's shirts. Yeah, they got the better collar.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's-
Yeah. And these folks, these shirts are freaking nice. They're
really
like
nice. They're very-
t-shirts. Yeah, they're worth
Very-
$30. So
Yes, you notice he
look
didn't.
at Marie. My email keeps crashing. She hasn't even been able to get through all of them. So what we have, there, he didn't want me to say his name, but there's going to be a bar eventually. I'm not talking for the permitting process. I'm just telling you what he said. He didn't want me. You guys know him on the beach. There's going to be a bar somewhere in Times Square called Hurricane Ian. And he's not doing that despite things. It'll be a way to help get people past this, because eventually we'll be moving past all this. So he was the one that bought he bought 500 shirts so that we could put all of that money, 500 of these he bought after our first two orders. So we have plenty of shirts. If you want to buy one, you can buy one and burn it if you want. I mean, or donate it or give it to the Goodwill if you don't like it, if you just want to do the donation. But the shirts we're trying to get just on PayPal, and that's at Beach Talk Radio, because all the other Venmo stuff is coming. And that's the other thing I realized. Venmo won't let me there's $90,000 that you donated in the Venmo account that I can't move over, because they don't let you transfer but a small amount at a time. So it's just it's a slow moving process when you want to give money back to the people. Which is crazy. So the last thing we want to talk about is on Monday and Tuesday. On Monday and Tuesday, the residents are not allowed to go on the beach. That is correct. That is something the county and the town did announce, and I think it's a good thing. They're trying to get the debris off as quickly as possible, and so they need those trucks to be able to move quickly and pick up the debris. And so it's going to be just essential. I know whenever you say the word essential, you always think back to COVID. But what they're talking about is the debris trucks, FPL, water, sewer, those things to try and rebuild the infrastructure that's so messed up down there. So just 2 days, just take a break for 2 days. You need a break. You've been going down to your house and going through your stuff. Just go stay somewhere or stay in the house if you're down on the beach, and let them work so that it doesn't take 18 months like it took in Panama City. So just for 2 days, I think it's a good thing. All right. Anything else that you want to say? Or should I start the out music? Anything else? Well, we've done enough. We're going to be back tomorrow at 9:00, everybody.
Just thanks for everybody.
I know, Christy, you did, but we're okay. I know you did. It's okay, Christy. There's like 4 people that paid on Venmo, but it's okay. So contact Marie, buy a shirt, pay by PayPal or a check. A check is fine too. And we will see you. Tomorrow's show is going to be really special because it's going to be in Times Square at 9:00. And we're going to have the camera right on Times Square. It's going to be emotional, but we're up to the task. Thank you for the helmet and the GoPro and for all the nice notes that you guys send. We read them all on email. I don't get to the private messages, but thank you for all the nice emails. But we're here for you, whatever you need. Call Kim's phone. Bye-bye.